Welcome to On Paper Sports with Jon and Mike. Week 15 starts tonight. San Francisco 49ers on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. But before we get to that, we have a lot to talk about because the NFL has been crazy. Every week it seems like it's more and more unpredictable, but Week 14 seemed like it just had a little bit of extra unpredictability for us, and we really want to highlight some of those things. If you're listening to us on YouTube and watching our beautiful faces, make sure that you guys are subscribed, like the video. It'll help us out, help everybody come on in and get their updates, sports news. If you're following on Apple Podcasts, we're there. If you want to listen on Spotify, we're there as well. So let's dive right in to what we witnessed in Week 14. It finished up on Monday night. The New England Patriots went on the road to Arizona and played the Cardinals. There were AFC playoff implications on the line. We saw Kyler Murray left the game early with a season-ending ACL injury. Our thoughts and prayers are with Kyler. He's an absolutely incredible quarterback. He does some things that just blow my mind every single week. Hopefully, it's a speedy recovery, and he's back for the start of next season. I expect big things out of Arizona. I expected big things this year. They're gonna have D-Hop to start the season, so hopefully he's back by the start of the first game, and Arizona can get back on track. With that being said, New England did go in. They got the win. New England's now in that last wild card spot. Okay, they're fighting. Their playoffs have already started. And Michael, I'm going to hand it over to you. You're the New England Patriots guy, all right? You're the specialist. But let's just highlight the fact that the New England Patriots have the hardest schedule out of anybody in the NFL for this push to the wild card spot. So they go on the road. They play Vegas this week, and then they go home. They play the red-hot Cincinnati Bengals. Then they stay at home. They play Miami, who, depending on how they fare after this loss, which we'll get to that as well, that this loss in Week 14, they're going to be in the mix as well. And then they go on the road to Buffalo. Let's also keep in mind that if Buffalo does tie up that first spot and that first round bye, they could be playing with second-string players. And if New England's still in that race, it could really, really play in their favor. So, Michael, I'm going to ask you this. You're a Patriots fan. Where is your mind right now as we do push towards the playoffs? I mean, the playoffs have started for the New England Patriots, correct?
Oh, yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. But, I mean, if you want to think about the playoff push that the Patriots are trying to make right now, you have to think about the fact that we've gone from arguably one of the greatest offensive play callers we've ever had, arguably one of the greatest offensive play callers in the NFL today, to a guy who is arguably one of the best defensive player callers calling the offense. It doesn't make sense to me. I think that you've got Matt Patricia, who did wonderful things for New England when we were, winning all those championships on the defensive side. Now he's calling the offense. And we can see it in Mac Jones' frustrations. We can see that they're making very shy, timid plays, short runs, short passes. I think the Patriots are leading the most screen passes in the NFL right now, and that's what you get when you get a defensive caller. I mean, Mac Jones, he's got an arm. Let him throw it downfield. Give him a shot. And the problem is, I mean, we're talking, if Matt Patricia has a job on the offensive side next year, we could see an even worse offense than we see right now, because I don't know if Mac Jones is going to stay. I don't know if some of those wide receivers, I mean, we don't even really have that great of a receiving, or we have a decent rushing core, but I mean, we're going to see all these players leave because think about this. You're an NFL draft prospect in the last 23 years. versus you're an NFL draft prospect now and you get drafted to the Patriots. If you got drafted by the Patriots probably in a late round or a late pick, because Patriots never had any upfront picks like they've had in recent years, you were like, oh, wow, I can go win a Super Bowl now.
Yeah.
Now you see these new guys coming in and they're like, ooh, I'm on a team that's at the end of their dynasty potentially, and I don't know what's next. So it's
there's no doubt in the last 20 years that it is a winning mentality in New England. And you do have Mac Jones, and hopefully he does stay in New England. He's one of the best young prospects to fill a pocket on any team. But you're right. I mean, Matt Patricia calling offensive plays, it just doesn't make sense. Like he's a defensive coordinator. He's not an offensive coordinator. Now you have this kid that you have to develop that is now playing under this defensive-minded coach. It doesn't make any sense to me. I hope they figure it out. I hope that Matt Patricia is not calling the offensive plays, and I hope that for your sake that Mac Jones does stay, and they bring in somebody that can develop him into the next great quarterback for New England.
Well, not only that, our next game is against that great play caller. It's going to be interesting to see the Vegas Raiders play the New England Patriots. It's going to be Bill Belichick versus Josh McDaniels. It's going to be interesting.
It will be. It will be.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Mac Jones will be going on his third year. Is that contract year? Because if next year is a contract year, that's going to change everything, especially 4 years. Okay. So we won't see Mac Jones contract year until the year after. However, if Matt Patricia is still calling the plays, I don't think we see
I don't
Mac
see
Jones
a scenario
finish.
where by his fourth year, Matt Patricia's calling the play. Unless something crazy happens and Matt Patricia has an epiphany and I just don't see it. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. There's no scenario where Matt Patricia by his fourth year is calling those plays. So we're
Fun
gonna
fact though.
Yeah.
Mac Jones is a rookie contract. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Kid's younger than both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. We're old.
4 years. $15,586,000 guaranteed.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. That someone cannot play a snap. He's that young and is guaranteed $15 million. But
he could retire.
Yeah,
he could retire. He could be done.
He's a first round quarterback, So, but playoff implications. New England got it done. We're gonna continue to watch, see if they can continue to push. Their playoffs have started. They have to win this week on the road in Vegas. So speaking of those playoff implications, in the playoff picture, the Chargers beat the Dolphins, and they beat them 23-17. But you watched that game, I watched that game. That score does not tell that whole picture because the Chargers absolutely dominated the Dolphins. The Dolphins didn't do anything to help themselves. We saw that Tyreek Hill had that fumble recovery, right, for the touchdown. It was crazy. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But aside from Tyreek Hill's 57-yard fumble recovery, which resulted in a touchdown, the rest of the offense only combined for 55 yards in the first half. 55 yards, right? Tua ended up with 10 completions on 28 passes for 145 yards and 1 touchdown. And before anybody comes at us, look, I'm guilty of it. Mike's guilty of it. All of us as sports fans, if you watch sports, you're guilty of it. If a player's doing really well, they're the next great thing. They're amazing. If they're doing terrible, they're trash. They're garbage. I get that. Tua,
I'm still that bad.
Tua, yeah, and I am too. But
I still think Tua's trash.
Tua's not the greatest.
Tua's absolute trash.
He's not the greatest of all time. All right, and I think that when he started this season, everybody was like, "Oh, he's the next Patrick Mahomes." It's not the case. Tua's allowed to be good, and he is a good player. He just shows these inconsistencies of a young quarterback, right? But if you have someone like Tyreek Hill and you have Jalen Waddle, like you can't go 10 for 28 for 145 yards and 1 touchdown and expect to win. I mean, they're 8-5 right now, right? So they've showed that they can compete and they can win. But now they go to Buffalo, right? They're going to be playing in the snow. Is Tua going to freeze? Is he going to be able to be that great Tua, or is he going to do what he did last week and, in the sunny weather and the controlled environment that it was in LA and throw 10 for 28 for 145 yards?
Did you see Mike McDaniels this week?
I saw a little bit coming out. I mean, he's just, I see a lot about Mike McDaniels. What are you talking about?
So in practice, getting ready, they're getting ready to play Buffalo up in New York. It's cold up there right now. And Mike McDaniels is walking around practice with his keyboard in his hand, dancing to the music with a shirt on that says, "Gee, I wish it was colder."
He is just...
I gotta say, I like him as a coach. I do like him. I mean, I didn't like what he did with Tua in that beginning of the year with that concussion and everything, but
I mean, I don't even know how much he had to do with that.
Oh, come on.
He had to have
John.
something.
Let's
I know.
be
I get it. Listen.
realistic.
Let's hold on.
You're the head coach of the team. You know exactly what's going on with your players, especially your number one player, your quarterback, your starting quarterback. You know everything. You know who he's dating, where he's going on his dates, what video games he's playing. I don't care. You know what he's eating for breakfast on Tuesdays because it's always something special. Like, that's how much level a head coach knows when it comes to their starting quarterback, because that is directly tied to their job performance as well.
What I do know is that Mike McDaniels came in after the Brian Flores regime basically cast Tua out. Right, he didn't like Tua, and he came in. He said, "Tua, you're our guy." And I can't say enough about what he's done for that team. It's just a different energy watching them.
No, he's definitely recuperated Tua's confidence.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the biggest thing, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we've seen so much success with Tua this year. Is because I feel like Tua feels like his team is confident in him, especially as head coach,
guy,
which I think is what. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy. And these young quarterbacks, like, all it takes, like, you're the guy. You're our guy. There's nobody coming in. Deshaun Watson's not coming in from his weekly massage to take your job. It's just not, So I think he's done wonders for the team. We're gonna see where that puts them. I think that at 8-5, they're not as safe as the standings on paper. I don't think that they're as safe as it shows, but we're gonna see how they fare in the cold Buffalo winter. But we're gonna.
Dude, hold on, time out. That was such a perfect cut. I need to take a quick sip.
There you go. So the Panthers went on the road to Seattle, and they beat the Seahawks 30-24. Okay, I want to make a quick point. Whether you want to accept it or not, the Carolina Panthers, are the team in the NFC South that holds the destiny of that division. Okay, and although Sam Darnold only went 14 for 24 for 120 yards, they rushed the ball 46 times, Mike, for 223 yards. Okay, Tampa Bay, and we're going to get to them. I mean, that was an atrocious loss. Tampa Bay's winning the division right now, but the Panthers, 3 of the Panthers' 5 wins have come against those divisional opponents. And with that Bucs loss, it puts them in the prime position to win the division. Panthers' remaining schedule is at home against the Steelers. They're going to win that. At home against the Lions. We're going to talk about the Lions. I got a really good take on the Lions. Okay, they're at home against the Lions. I don't know what's going to happen there. And then they go on the road against the Bucs. Then they're on the road in New Orleans to finish their season. The run game without Christian McCaffrey has fared very well. It's going to be interesting to see how defenses adjust their game plan to approach that run offense. But as of now, I see the Carolina Panthers winning that division. I'm going to say it. I have Carolina winning the division.
Wow, that's, I mean, a very bold take that you've got them winning the division. But I will say that I feel like you know why their run game has increased since Christian McCaffrey has left.
I need you to tell me.
Well, they don't have any film. Nobody's got film anymore. That's all the Carolina Panthers did.
Yeah.
It was run it to Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And so now that they don't have that film, they don't know what the Panthers are going to do, and so therefore their run game has been able to benefit from that and has increased. Now, is it solely on that? No, I mean, I'm sure there's other, things that they've tweaked and changed, especially with how many quarterbacks they've gone through this season. It's going to be interesting to see if the Panthers can pull it out like you're boldly predicting.
Hey, listen, they traded away. They not even trade him away. They released NFL Player of the Week Baker Mayfield. You know what I mean? So I don't know what they were thinking. By releasing NFL Player of the Week Baker Mayfield. But all jokes aside, Sam Darnold, he's not going to get it done in the air. He's not going to break any records. But if they can continue to attack on the ground like they did last week, they're two of their next 4 games. 2 of the last 4 games come against the divisional opponents, and they're doing very well in that division. So I think that they are in the driver's seat in the NFC South. So let's talk about that Bucs loss, okay? Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, becomes just one of 8 quarterbacks to defeat Tom Brady in his career debut, and he did it in dominant fashion. San Francisco won 35-7 behind Purdy's 2 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. Brady threw 34-55, lots of passes. He passed for 253 yards, but his performance was highlighted by those 2 interceptions. Listen, I believe the Bucs' success or lack thereof is directly related to the involvement of Mike Evans. There's no doubt that he's one of the most dominant athletes that we've seen in the last decade, and you're only getting him the ball 4 times for 44 yards. You're not going to win games. There's a reason why he's in that offense. There's players where they're on a team and there's a reason why you're there. And Mike Evans is there to dominate the defensive secondary of every team that he plays. And that's what is expected of him. And that's what he has shown that he is able to do. And if you're not getting him the ball more than 4 times, you're not going to win the division. Right now they're winning, but the Panthers are right on their tails, and the Panthers have it set up. Like they don't have anything to prove. Tom Brady's getting old. He's Tom Brady. He's expected to win. So I just don't understand how you have Mike Evans on your team and you only get him the ball 4 times for 44 yards. No
there's
touchdowns.
Some beef there, right? Did you hear about that?
I didn't hear about any beef.
I thought I read something about Tom Brady and Mike Evans having a little bit of beef, and it's probably because of the fact that Mike Evans isn't being fed the ball as much as he should be.
He should be. He should be.
I mean, at the end of the day, let's be realistic. Tom Brady's not going to be in Tampa next year. Who knows where he'll be?
I think Las Vegas.
Could be New England.
I think Las Vegas.
I could see Las Vegas.
I'd see him throwing the ball to Devontae Adams next year.
Well, I also see him reconnecting with his true love, Josh McDaniels.
That's true. That'd be very interesting.
A lot of people, I feel like, always thought that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were this really niche type couple, and I agree. I definitely think they have a lot of respect for them. But did you see last year? Was it last year or the year before when the Patriots played the Buccaneers? It was Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick, their first ever reunion as Tom Brady as a Buccaneer. At the end of that game, Bill Belichick went up to Tom Brady, gave him a hug, wished him good luck, told him, hey, great, hey, it's good to see you, yada, yada, yada. When Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels saw each other after the game, it was like a full-on bro hug.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, it's so good to see you. Like, Josh McDaniels was holding his head like, it's so good to see you again, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom sitting there glaring into his eyes. So Josh McDaniels is pretty short, by the way, so I don't know if anybody else told that. Same height as me, but, I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell people that, but
Can we cut that?
I would, yeah, right. I mean, that's how I would kind of expect it to go, though. Like Josh McDaniels was. We talk a lot about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, right? Like, who was it? But Josh McDaniels, right? Like, why don't we talk about that? Josh McDaniels is one of the best play callers of all time, right?
Absolutely.
He did amazing things, but. Enough about Tom Brady, right? San Francisco showed that no matter who is at the helm, they have the pieces to dominate, right?
That is interesting that you said that, because they literally have done that. They've gone through 3 quarterbacks, starting, backup, who arguably should have been starting, and now Mr. Irrelevant.
Right. Mr. Irrelevant. I'm not, like, that's your name. And then he gets to play against Tom Brady. And he gets a win.
Beats him.
And gets to go look him in the eyes and shake his hand.
Ever do it.
Yeah.
The first quarterback to play Tom Brady in their debut and actually win the game. What was the stat? I think you read it off earlier.
Yeah, he's the first of 8 quarterbacks to defeat Tom Brady in his career debut. To start in his career debut. Their offense is really impressive, right? But defenses win championships. That's the saying, right? And San Francisco's defense has more interceptions than they do passing touchdowns allowed, right? Like, they have 14 interceptions. I think they've allowed 12 touchdowns through the air. That is incredible. They're making a historic push to January, and I'd be, as an Eagles fan, I'd be dumb to say that they are not contending in the NFC for a spot in the Super Bowl come February.
So you think that San Fran has the best passing defense in the NFL right now?
San Francisco has the best defense in the NFL right now.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Statistically, do you know who has the best passing defense in the NFL right now?
The best passing defense in the NFL right now. I'm looking right here. I don't know. Who would it be?
Indianapolis Colts.
The Colts. So the Colts last year? I think they had the most takeaways and the most defensive touchdowns as well. I mean, that makes sense. The Colts have a really good defense as well.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Colts have allowed the least amount of points through the air than any other team in the NFL right now.
San Francisco's only allowed a team to score 20 points twice this year. That's impressive as well. So
that's a big stat right there.
Yep. And the Seattle game is about to start now. So I'll be really, really surprised to see how that plays out. I mean, Seattle's looking to get into the playoff mix as well. So San Francisco, we'll keep an eye on them. They're on their 3rd quarterback, but they're making a push, and they look really, really good and really, really scary. I would not want to play them. Touching on some of the other Sunday matchups that we saw in Week 14, the Chiefs defeated the Broncos, ending their playoff hopes for this year. We thought, and like many others, thought that the Broncos had potential to win that division. Russell Wilson maybe even in the MVP conversation. Mahomes threw 3 interceptions. They got the win, okay, but they're still competing for that top AFC spot. The biggest pushback that I get on my Jalen Hurts MVP conversation, right? My take on Jalen Hurts making the MVP is whenever he does something really good, a lot of people like to compare him to Mahomes, right? So if you're comparing him to Mahomes, and Mahomes is still doing amazing things, and he's the standard, how does Mahomes not win the MVP?
Especially too, the Eagles' run defense or their rushing, I think you told me, has been kind of taken off. Like they've kind of found a little bit in their rush game lately
Yeah.
that they haven't seen in the past few years. And I believe you also said, and I think we had a conversation last week about how the Chiefs' rushing game has become very cold. And so they're relying a lot on Patrick Mahomes' arm,
Yeah.
and he's getting the job done. So, I mean, I definitely think that argument plays, there's validity there.
There is validity there. However, I want to bring up the fact that Mahomes threw 3 interceptions last week in one game.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts has 3 interceptions all year long.
I did not know that.
So
this is live reaction, folks.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
He's got 12-1. Wow.
3 interceptions all year long. We're gonna get to his stats.
Wow.
And we're gonna talk about
crazy.
that rushing game, because there is a rusher on the Eagles that did something for the first time in his career.
Man, that gets me excited.
Before we get to that, the Ravens went into Pittsburgh. They defeated the Steelers 16-14. I mean, a snooze fest. They maintain the NFC North as of now. But their second string quarterback, Tyler Huntley, he left the game in concussion protocol. Jackson's already out. Lamar Jackson's already out with a knee injury. So that leaves the Ravens with their third string quarterback, who, until he came into the game, Anthony Brown. Okay. So with their race with the Bengals in the the AFC North, they're going to be relying on third string quarterback Anthony Brown to get it done. So let me ask you this: do you see a scenario where the Baltimore Ravens come out on top in that division, or with the way that Cincinnati's playing, and after this week where Baltimore's in Cleveland and they're probably going to lose, Cincinnati's in Tampa, they're going to win. Like, after this week, does it shape up and then it's clear, and then moving forward, Baltimore's just that wild card spot, and then we'll see what happens in the playoffs?
I mean, if the Ravens were healthy. I think if the Ravens were healthy, we look at them as we're looking at the Bengals now. You know, a team that could make a push and potentially make it back to the top seed. Well, not the top seed, but to the Super Bowl and potentially win it. When the Ravens are healthy, and we look back at, when Lamar Jackson, became Lamar Jackson at Baltimore, you always kind of had the Ravens as a potential Super Bowl champ, right? I mean, I think every year since Lamar Jackson, the odds for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl are some of the lowest because they're at the top. But now that they're unhealthy, third string quarterback, they don't have Marquise Brown anymore, then I think that, no, I don't see any possible chance unless Lamar Jackson can come back and be as healthy as ever. But the problem is, we know with knee injuries, any injury, it doesn't really get fully healed. It doesn't get fully healed until the end of the season. So realistically, I don't see a push.
I mean, I agree that we'd be looking at him in a different light. I think when Cincinnati was struggling at the beginning of the year, I think that it was more like, what is going on here? And when Baltimore was doing really well, we were kind of like, they're a good team. But there were some games, they beat Buffalo earlier this year, and I don't think that they should have. Cincinnati's got the running game. They've got the wide receiver core. And I think after this week, it's going to just shape up. It's going to clear up. It's going to be exactly how it is. Baltimore Ravens are just going to be that wild card team that hopefully Lamar Jackson's back and healthy, and they can potentially do something in the playoffs. But Cincinnati wins that division, no doubt, in my mind.
Now, I will say, if you ask me if the Baltimore Ravens were to play the Patriots in the playoffs, who would win, even if they have their third string quarterback, depends on who's calling the plays for New England. If it's Matt Patricia, Baltimore will still win.
Yeah, and we've talked about that. And I don't see them making a switch this year, but hopefully next year something changes for New England. The Jaguars defeated the Tennessee Titans in Nashville 36-22. What a game, honestly, for Trevor Lawrence. He really needed this one. He went 30 for 42, 368 yards, and 3 touchdowns through the air. So now
wasn't the Titans up like 21-7 in the beginning too?
I don't think so.
The Titans had a strong lead in the beginning.
Maybe,
yes.
Yeah.
Hold on, let's double check that real quick. But I'm almost positive
that might be the case. What I do know is now Jacksonville finds themselves 2 games behind Tennessee for that top spot in the AFC South. Moral of the story for Michael and I: don't bet against the Jags when they're playing in a divisional game. I mean, we talked about that. He sent me a bet before the game started on Sunday, and I said, the Jags always do so well. I mean, I can't remember the last time Indianapolis went into Jacksonville and won a game. But Jacksonville now, they're just outside that playoff picture. They could still sneak in, but they do so well against those divisional opponents. Trevor Lawrence is playing amazing football. And they have Dallas. Yeah, they have Dallas at home, who we're going to talk about here in a minute. But if they continue to roll, man, they got nothing to lose, everything to prove, and Trevor Lawrence finally came out and showed the world that he is the real deal. Do you agree with that? Like, do you agree that Trevor Lawrence is the real deal, or do you think he just had a good game?
No. He just had a good game.
I think you're absolutely crazy. He looked amazing.
No,
in that game.
you keep saying this. You keep going back to this whole Trevor Lawrence thing. When does the story end? Like when do you finally go, okay, the fat lady's sung? You know,
can we do it? Can we do it when he doesn't throw 30 for? When he doesn't go 30 for 42, 368 yards and 3 touchdowns against Tennessee Titans? Can we do it after that? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about it after he if he does that again against Dallas, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this again.
All right, fair enough. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Another divisional thriller went down in Detroit, where the Lions beat up on the NFC North leading Vikings. After starting the season 1-6, the Lions find themselves just outside the playoff picture with a record of 6-7. They have a date with New York against the Jets. That's going to be in New York. And the Lions look primed, man. They look primed to steal that last wild card spot from the New York Giants, who are spiraling.
Wait, we got to make a correction real quick.
Okay.
Titans were winning 14-7 at the half, so no, they weren't doing great. They weren't doing great. Hold on, was it 14-7 or was it? It was 20. No, Jags were winning 20-14 at the half.
Yeah, I thought that the Jags were. I think they dominated the Titans.
I don't know why I thought. Maybe it's because the Titans scored their first 2 touchdowns or their first few scores before the Jags did anything. I didn't watch that game, so I don't entirely know.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I remember seeing the Titans were up and that I thought that they were going to win, especially holidays are coming up. This weekend, we're traveling back to Tennessee, where my fiance's family is very heavily Titans fans.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make fun of them for losing to the Jaguars.
Yeah, as you should. So, yes, Jags dominated. I hope they dominate the Dallas Cowboys this week. But the Detroit Lions, like I said, they beat the Vikings.
Yes.
They are now 6-7, just outside the wild card spot in the NFC. Okay, and the New York Giants are not as good as everybody thought they were when they were 4-0.
I'm so glad that you brought these both up together. I'm so glad that you took both of these and you put them together, because that was my main point. My main point was, you know what the Vikings look like? They look like the Giants. They look like the Giants. The Giants this year came out strong, won a bunch of games, looked like, who in the world why are these Giants doing so good? They looked so good.
Yeah.
And the Vikings look just like them.
Yeah.
Bunch of phonies. That's what I call them. That's what I'm saying when it comes to the Vikings. I mean, and I think you agree, right? You don't think the Vikings. You think the Vikings on paper
Yeah.
look terrible.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Justin Jefferson caught 11 passes for 223 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's out of Madden. That's like I played Madden on easy mode, which means that Kirk Cousins is playing good football too. It's their defense, and without the defense, they're not going to get done. They're 10-3 right now, I think. Yeah, 10-3, and yeah, I agree. They're definitely not as good as their record shows. They're not scary by any means. Indianapolis goes into Minnesota, and if I was Indianapolis, I'm looking to pick up a dub, honestly, on Saturday. So you can't have a receiver, the best receiver in the league, by the way, catch 11 passes for 223 yards and not win the game.
Well, you can't have a top 5 offense, but a
terrible defense that's just hanging on
to 32 defense. Yeah, I mean, you just can't. You can't have that. It just doesn't mix.
You can't. But aside from
I
Minnesota,
feel like you could switch that. You could switch that. You could have like a 25 or higher rated offense, but a top 5 defense, because we all know it. Defense wins Super Bowls.
If a defense can keep them in the game and give the offense the opportunity to win it, yeah, no, I agree with that. But the Lions, man, I think the Lions are gonna make the playoffs this year, Mike. I think the Lions are gonna make the playoffs. They find themselves just outside that race. I mean, they got Seattle plays tonight. So if Seattle loses tonight, that'll put Seattle at 7-7. And then Detroit plays against the Jets. That'll tie them up at 7-7. And then they're right there. I mean, with a New York Giants loss, that puts them in the most amazing position in the NFC to finish off.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I don't have that in the notes. What I do have is when John says something crazy, you respond with what?
Okay. So if
you think the Lions are going to make the playoffs?
If you're going to call me crazy, I want you to tell me who's going to make the NFC wild card. Who's making the NFC wild card?
Over the Lions?
Who is making the NFC wild? Who is making those 5, 6, 7 spots? Because the Lions are in that. They're in one of those spots. They're in that 7th spot for me. Because right now, I'm gonna help you out here. So right now, what we have is we have Dallas, Washington, and New York. They're all NFC East teams. Okay? One of those teams is falling off, and I think it's going to be the Giants. I could see Dallas and Washington. Obviously, Dallas is going to make it. Dallas is going to make one of those spots. I could see Washington continuing. Yeah. Seattle is going to lose tonight. They're not going to get any closer. New York, the Giants, right? They play at Washington. So one of those teams is going to solidify their spot in the wild card even further, and one of them is going to drop off, and it's going to be New York. New York's going to lose. The Lions are going to win in New York against the Jets. It's going to propel them even closer to stealing that spot from the Giants. I'm telling you. Because if it's not Seattle, it's the Lions.
You're making good points. You're making very good points. But I would say that if I had to guess at who would make it over the Lions, and you're saying that the Giants are going to lose that spot, I still think the Giants could pull off that spot. As much of phonies as they are, I still feel like I don't know. I feel like I have Brown syndrome. I'm going to call it Brown syndrome. For many years, as I've played fantasy football, whenever a team plays the Browns, I pick up that team's defense because I just know they're going to win. I just know they're going to dominate the Browns. And so when I think of the Lions, I just think of that. I just think of the fact that they went 0-16.
That's to no fault. That is to no fault of your own. But this is a different Lions team. I'm telling you, they got Jameson Williams is back now.
They traded away their best player. They traded away T.J. Hawkinson. And they're doing maybe not better, but good.
Yeah, I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Jamal Williams.
He's very good, too.
Jamal Williams. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They have an amazing defense.
What about that rookie wide receiver that they picked up last year? Jamison Williams?
Yeah, Jamison Williams just caught his first pass of his NFL career because he tore his ACL in his senior year.
Oh, that was in the last game?
And he caught it. It was a touchdown, and it was an amazing touchdown. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I mean, he busted the gates wide open. He was wide open for the touchdown. I don't see a scenario where the Lions don't steal that last wild card spot from the New York Giants and make the playoffs. And everybody, I think, is rooting for them. It would be an amazing story after watching Hard Knocks this year, and they covered Detroit. It would be an amazing story. Really rooting for the Lions. I hope they get the win against the Jets. I know you are too, with your Patriots competing for that last spot against the Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. No, wait. Was Hard Knocks this year? Was it an in-season Hard Knocks?
The in-season one is happening now with the Arizona Cardinals, which I'm watching now. It's amazing.
Okay.
Let's keep it in the NFC wildcard talk. The Dallas Cowboys are leading that NFC wildcard. They're 10-3. They were 17-point favorites in their game against the 11-1 Houston Texans at home. But they struggled. They struggled until they led a 98-yard game-winning drive late in the fourth quarter. And I get it, a win is a win, but at 10-3, the Dallas Cowboys really showed that they have quite a bit to tidy up if they want to avoid that traditional one-and-done playoff appearance this year.
Well, I think that we've already proven that that's what's going to happen. I mean, that's what this performance showed us, is that the Cowboys have the tools to get the job done. They just don't know how to use them to get the job done. I mean, I definitely think that this performance kind of shed more light on the fact that the Cowboys are going to struggle in the playoffs. Yep. They're going to. And if they face a team like the Eagles, even if they face a team like the Giants, there's going to be a struggle, and there's going to be a potential getting knocked out early. Now, if they can stay strong early, maybe they can pull it off later in the playoffs, but it really all depends. But like you said, with this game, I feel like this just proves that their performance is not where it needs to be.
Yeah, Dak has thrown 3 interceptions in the last, or has thrown at least 1 interception in the last 3 games. If they're going to continue to turn the ball over in Jacksonville this week, they're going to lose that game. And then they play Philly, next
question.
Week. Yeah.
How many interceptions has Jalen Hurts thrown this year?
He's thrown 3.
Interesting.
We talked about that. Oh, yeah. You're saying because the last 3 games. Yeah, an interception the last 3 games.
I was setting you up. I was trying to set you up.
It went right over my head. I'll tell you that. But really, honestly, like Dak Prescott turning the ball over, making those mistakes is going to be the downfall of Dallas. They just signed T.Y. Hilton. He's an awesome dude from what I've heard.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Injuries have highlighted his career, but now he gets a fresh start in Dallas. Maybe that helps. Maybe it doesn't. They go to Jacksonville at 10-3, and then they have Philly next week. So
hey, if Dallas can do what the Indianapolis Colts did, then Dallas might be in a good position, because the Indianapolis Colts went and got Stephon Gilmore from the Patriots, and he is having a year, as he does year after year. He's got, I think, the most interceptions in the league right now, and if he doesn't, he's got a high percentage. So who knows? Maybe T.Y. Hilton couldn't work in their offense, and maybe he will work in Dallas's offense.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So we'll. I'm hoping Dallas loses out, and then it'll be really interesting come playoffs. The Red Hot Bengals finally defeated the Cleveland Browns. They beat them 23-10. Kind of expected. Now they're tied, like we were talking about earlier. They were tied with the Ravens at 9-4. The Ravens have more division wins, so right now they're in that spot where they're leading the division. They have a matchup this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I expect to see that shift finally, where Bengals retake the division lead, and they're gonna win their division. I mean, we already hammered that nail. I don't think we really need to talk about it. Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. He's going to continue to lead that team to the division win in the AFC North. Do you even want to say anything about that? Do you have any questions about that?
No comment.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
I just fully agree with everything. I think
let's just keep watching him do his
Joe
thing.
Burrow is hot. Their receiving core is hot. Their rushing core is hot.
The defense is really good.
Defense is solid.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't see it until we talked about it last week, and now that I've looked at it, I've realized, oh wow, the Bengals have a very good shot of, like, the Bengals are right up there with the Chiefs.
They are. There are a couple wins out of that first round bye as well. Yes.
Yeah. In my opinion, yeah, they're definitely right up there with them. And even if they don't get that first round bye, I definitely think we see Chiefs Bengals or Bills Bengals in a potential playoff, maybe even AFC Championship.
Yep.
Spot. So we'll see how it goes.
We will see how it goes. And speaking of the Bills, they hosted the Jets in Week 14. It was snowing. They beat them 20-12. Separated themselves as the AFC East leaders. Don't see anybody else contending for that, especially after we saw what Miami did in LA against the Chargers. So they're going to be competing for that number one spot with the Chiefs and the Bengals. The Jets are also knocking on the door, and we talked about this when we talked about the Patriots and their wild card push. The Jets are also 7-6, but the Patriots are looking to snag that from them. So they're running with the quarterback Mike White. Zach Wilson's kind of taking the back seat now. I think Zach Wilson's time in New York's probably done.
I hope so.
We got to see Joe Flacco come in and play walking football, I guess you could say. He was not enthusiastic. He was just waiting for Mike White to come back almost. Mike White took that heavy shot to the ribs. He left the game, went to the locker room, came back later in the game, and then went to the hospital afterwards. So it's still looking like he's going to suit up this week against the Lions, but they're right there in the mix as well, and they're playing great football. Like, this isn't the New York Jets of the last 10 years.
No,
this is a good football team that we're watching play every single week, and they're competing too. So I could see a scenario where the Jets make a push, especially with New England. I think New England's a better team, but New England has a tough schedule, so it's going to be really, really interesting. That AFC wildcard picture is really, really shaping up to be a battle. So this week, they host the Detroit Lions. New England is in Vegas, so I think you and I are going to be monitoring that pretty pretty hard. The Jets game is at noon. That's an early game, and then or at 1, and then the what's this? The New England Patriots play at 4. So it's gonna be one after the other. So we'll be able to watch those. Let's wrap it up with my Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, the Philadelphia Eagles are the first.
Did you do this on purpose?
Listen, okay, listen. All right, it's not my fault that I write that I'm just writing notes. Okay, I wrote them last. I didn't write them first. I wrote your team first because I'm giving.
Yeah, well,
I'm in the giving mood. It's the holidays. It's Christmas.
Save the best for last, right? I mean, that's what everybody said.
They continue to prove to the world why they're the best team in football. They dominated the New York Giants 48-22 in the Meadowlands.
So, first team to clinch a playoff spot. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yep. They are the first team in the NFL this year to clinch a playoff spot at 12-1. So that alone is amazing, right? Week 14, they clinch a playoff spot. Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith. Are you still following? It's a long list.
Mm-hmm.
All found the end zone against the Giants, okay? Miles Sanders, first year with 1,000 rushing yards. Breaks 1,000 rushing yards. He's not the only one to go over 1,000 yards because A.J. Brown also goes over 1,000 yards in this game. The game was set. The game tone was set by Jalen Hurts, who posted yet another impressive stat line of 21 for 31, 217 yards, and 2 touchdowns through the air. He also rushed 7 times for 77 yards and scored 1 on the ground. I mean, he's the most versatile quarterback in the league, and he has to be.
Can we just give him the MVP? Can we just give it to him already?
He has to be the favorite to win the
already
MVP.
vote it.
Yeah, he has to be. I mean, listen, like, regardless of what anybody wants to say about the strength of schedule, right? If you're going to sit there and tell me that Dallas is better, they played the same teams that we do, besides two other teams. So we saw what Micah Parsons said in the media this week, right? He doesn't understand how, or he doesn't necessarily know how much of the Eagles' success relies on Jalen Hurts' play. But he has 3 interceptions all year while doing all of this. He rushed 7 times for 77 yards. It almost looks as if he goes out there and he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, you know? And at first, when the Eagles started off this season, I think they were about, 5-0, and you asked me, you're like, how does that feel, you know? And I was just waiting for the wheels to fall off. And it's because as a Philly fan, you just expect it. But watching this team play is just, it's magical every week. And Jalen Hurts seems to get better every single week. He's in his 3rd year. Everybody said, just wait. Like that 3rd year is going to be incredible for him.
I mean, especially that loss against Washington. They have literally, like, I saw that loss against Washington and I thought, okay, maybe we start to see like the true Eagles now. And we did, because they just continued to dominate. Like it was a fluke. It was that divisional matchup that screwed them up. But besides that, the Eagles keep getting it done.
Yep. And you might be thinking, well, what about this week? This week they go to Chicago and they play the Bears, who have already been eliminated from the playoffs. And then next week they play against Dallas in Dallas. So Eagles, right now, best team in football. However, I am keeping in mind the fact that the San Francisco 49ers are going to make it a hell of a hard time if we get to the point where the Eagles have to play against the 49ers in the playoffs. I think that the Eagles can pull it off. Yeah, I do. And I think that they will. And I think that the Eagles are going to play in the Super Bowl. But they are incredible. They're dominant. And I think they're just going to continue to win. I don't think they're going to lose another game this regular season, and then they'll have the bye, and we'll see how that treats them. But I mean, that's 5 different players in the end zone. You know, it's incredible. So let's wrap up. Let's talk about the playoff picture as of now, and then I want to go watch this San Francisco-Seattle game. But we got in the AFC, okay? Let's just talk about where we are right now. In the AFC, Buffalo is in the top spot, followed by Kansas City, Baltimore, Tennessee. Those are our divisional leaders right now. Cincinnati, Miami, and New England are right now in the wild card in the AFC. And right there on the tail of New England is the Chargers, the Jets, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. In the NFC, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Shoo-in. They're already there. They're guaranteed to make the playoffs. Then we have Minnesota, San Francisco, and Tampa Bay. Wild card for the NFC is the Dallas Cowboys, Washington Commanders, and the New York Giants. And on their tails is Seattle, Detroit, and the Packers. So we didn't really talk too much about the Packers, but I just think with the way that the Lions are playing, the Packers have the Rams at home, so they could get a win. But even then, if Detroit beats the Jets, they're going to still be that game ahead. It's turning out to be a very, very interesting battle. December is going to be amazing to watch for football. Week 15 Lots of good matchups. We got 3 on Saturday. What is before we end? What is your besides New England? What is your favorite matchup this week that you're looking forward to watching?
Well, you took away my favorite matchup. It was going to be Bill Belichick against his old offensive caller, Josh McDaniels. I mean, how can you take that away from?
Yeah.
How could you say?
Let's actually just.
What's your favorite matchup?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one for me. But I mean, I
they
also
have to
a
win
very,
too.
You know, I have a biased, right? Because I love the Patriots, and I'm just very excited about that game. But if I had to pick a different matchup, I think Bills Miami is my next favorite to watch this weekend because Miami beat them the first time. You know the Bills want to win the next time. But the way we see Mike McDaniels wearing that I wish it was colder shirt and the way he's been acting, young coach, young guy, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I think it's going to be a good game. I think the Bills take it, but I think it's going to be a good game.
I agree. For everybody listening, thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you guys are following. We're going to be updating after Week 15. Hopefully it's as crazy as Week 14 was. It's a crazy push for the playoffs. And until next time, see ya.
And just remember, on paper, we're the best podcast out there.